welcome back to part 2 of my 2-video series where I break down my top 20 favorite films of all time. You guys missed part 1 of the series where I broke down my favorite films from 20 to 11. I will link that in the description below. You can check out that video, see some of the choices that I had. Ironically, the rest of the list that I came up with, because I told you guys I came up with a top 100 list, the rest of the list was infinitely more difficult to figure out than my top 10. Like, my top 10 was almost kind of set in stone from the moment that I started all of this. Thank you again to anybody out there who has shown support for me on this channel, my videos, like, share, subscribe, whatever you've done in any small way to push me along, to give me feedback, to talk to me, to have a place where I can really vent and show my passion for cinema. I love all of you guys, and words can't really do it justice. I can't describe how you guys make me feel every time I get behind this camera and I start talking. For anybody new to the channel, again, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Like I said in my last video, you're in for some pretty wild shit on this channel. There are going to be some times where you're probably going to question your sanity watching this channel. But if it makes you feel any better, I question my sanity every time I get behind the camera. So I think we have a very symbiotic bond already. Can't you feel it? I love hundreds of movies, and it's hard. It's almost mentally impossible to ask me to try to put these movies in order and rank them, okay? So just really try to appreciate the stress that I was under emotionally while I made this list. Without further ado, I crack my knuckles for absolutely no reason as we get into my 10 favorite films of all time, the best of the best. Read them and weep, people. Of things that I could say to describe Mad Max Fury Road. I could call it an action masterpiece, which it is. I think I just want to be a simpleton for a second and call it fucking awesome. Just call it balls to the wall, fire guitar, fucking awesome, because that's what it is. Have you ever watched an action movie and got kind of horny based off of the way that the action was filmed? Like, this is sex on screen in action form. If ever there was anything that you ever wanted in an action movie, it is here on full display in this movie. It was so damn goated that now when I watch action movies, I kind of go on some what would Jesus do type shit. Like, I start thinking like, okay, that action sequence was great, but how would it look in Mad Max Fury Road? Continuation of the original Mad Max films, but it also is kind of its own thing. It stands alone. This movie has probably my favorite woman protagonist of all time, Imperator Furiosa. Loved her, loved Charlize Theron in this movie, loved Tom Hardy as Mad Max. Like, this movie is just, it's damn near the perfect action movie. You guys knew that I had to have a James Bond on this list, right? Gone on and on this channel for I don't know how long about James Bond and how obsessed I am with James Bond. I have seen all of the James Bond movies multiple times, and I'm here to tell you that my #1 favorite Bond movie of all time is Skyfall. So how could Skyfall not be in my top 10? Easily the most eye-gasmic and gorgeous looking Bond movie that I think I've ever seen in my life. Roger Deakins, that man just does something to me. Okay, you know what? That sounded a little bit suspect. I should say his cinematography does things to me. Yep. It's totally better. If you're looking for immaculate, beautiful looking cinematography and shot frames, this movie has it. If you're looking for great action, it has that too. I think this Bond movie resonates more with me because it's more of an emotionally grounded concept for a Bond movie. It really does play with the idea that James Bond is getting old, and it asks the question, do we still need James Bond? It really explored his relationship with M in a very emotionally satisfying way, and then you add that to Javier Bardem, who is camping the entire screen up with one of the best villain portrayals in Bond history. Did fight between this one and Casino Royale, but ultimately Skyfall wins, and it comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is a movie that is designed to enthrall you and at the same time frustrate you and at the same time make you a little bit uncomfortable. When I watch this movie, I'm reminded of Michael Jordan. We just got done watching the Last Dance documentary, or documentary, I have bunny ears because it's really more of a propaganda piece. Whatever. The point is, this is not about The Last Dance, but if you look at Michael Jordan was a guy that was very psychologically and emotionally demanding of his teammates. He got on them, he talked shit, he berated them, he cussed them out, he punched teammates, he got in fights. Jordan had that psychotic will and drive to win at any cost. Kind of see that mentality, that psychotic obsession with winning, and you see it in this movie reflected in Fletcher, played brilliantly by J.K. Simmons. This is a movie that has great music in it. It gave me a new appreciation for drums, which I never really had before. One of the best finales to any movie I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, I was on the edge of my seat watching the end of this thing. Whiplash, if you have not seen it, go watch it. I guarantee you'll probably have whiplash by the time the movie's over. A movie that definitely, as a black man, affected me a lot as a kid. And it's a movie that has messages and ideas and story concepts that are very powerful and very resonant and still relevant to today. If Product of My Environment was a movie, I feel like Menace II Society would reflect that the most. I feel like this movie just perfectly captures the depiction of a young black male growing up in a world where all of these different evils are around him, and he's just trying to make his way through it. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I don't mind movies that have shitty endings, or like, not shitty endings, but just like bad endings, like sad endings, endings that make you want to cry, make you feel like emotionally messed up. I like those kind of endings. It's a brilliant screenplay. It's wonderfully acted. It is a movie that resonates emotionally with me to this day. Menace II Society, no way it wasn't making the top 10. This movie is just all-time iconic, okay? It is one of the pillars, one of the pioneers of the modern-day action movie. You cannot tell the story of action movies in history, in cinema, without mentioning Die Hard. Bruce Willis, I mean, come on. It's probably his most iconic role as a shit-talker who just causes a bunch of trouble for these terrorists in this building. Hans Gruber, played brilliantly by Alan Rickman. He's one of my all-time favorite villains. Rest in peace to Alan Rickman. He's a hell of an actor, too. So many moments that made me laugh, and so many moments that also made me go, okay, that was freaking awesome. Yes, this Christmas movie is gonna come in relatively high on my list. Talk about emotion, talk about music, talk about incredible action, talk about The Last Samurai. Cruise is brilliant in this movie, but so is everybody in this movie. The performances are great. Watanabe. I remember Watanabe. I can't remember his first name. I know his first name is not Watanabe. If you're new to the channel, just get used to me mispronouncing people's names and getting shit wrong. Happens more often than you'd think. Musical score by Hans Zimmer is breathtaking. It's one of my all-time favorite musical scores for a movie. Well-staged, bloody action sequences, battle sequences that really do showcase the skill of the warriors that were the samurai. One of the best-made films of Tom Cruise's entire career. I'm here to tell you, if you have not seen The Last Samurai, you ain't been living right. And quote literally this entire movie front to back. It's almost like Batman v Superman in that sense. One of those iconic ass movies that you always remember it, and you always remember the big things that happened in it. You remember certain lines, you remember certain scenes. Like everything about the movie just stands out to you in your memory bank. Obviously one of the best performances of Denzel Washington's career. I do believe he got an Oscar for this performance. Now, in fairness to Denzel, he's had other performances that even I would rank as better than his performance in this movie. For the purposes of this movie and what the story required his character to be, Denzel nailed it. The corruption and the moral ambiguity of being a cop on the streets, being a narcotics officer, being a detective involved with that line of work. So well written. David Ayer, you did your thing on this movie. I don't want to forget you, buddy. Feast for the eyes. Now, there are several films in my top 10 that I would call orgasmic, I would call sex on camera. And that perfectly describes Blade Runner 2049, maybe more than any movie on this list. Blade Runner 2049 is damn near the perfect sci-fi movie. It's a great sequel. It's thought-provoking and intellectual. It's emotional. It has great music. It has god-tier cinematography. Roger Deakins, once again, I worship at this man's feet. He won an Oscar for this movie. Well-deserved. Story is great, and it does a great job at propelling the themes and ideas of the first Blade Runner and expanding it, expanding the world. It kind of doubles down on everything that made that movie great and does it even better, in my opinion. What else can I say about this movie other than I wish it were a woman, because I would fuck the shit out of this movie. Alright, let's forget what I said in the last segment. That got a little bit too awkward even for my taste. You know what's not awkward? Talking about Gladiator. Why? Because it's Gladiator. Who doesn't love Gladiator? I'm not going to be arrogant enough to think that nobody out there like has a problem with Gladiator. If you have a problem with Gladiator, that's cool. That's fine. Fuck you. Again, I'm kidding, people. It's just, I'm kidding. I'm not really fuck you, but yes, this movie is the tits. In terms of the action sequences, this movie was ahead of its time. Russell Crowe was incredible in this movie, one of the greatest protagonists, I believe, in modern movie history. From the world to the design to the performance of Joaquin Phoenix in this movie, he is such a scumbag. You love to hate him here. The score, I believe, also by Hans Zimmer, and he also took elements of this score and incorporated them later into Pirates of the Caribbean, so that was pretty awesome. Gladiator, just like Training Day, is one of those movies that's just instantly quotable to me. Gladiator actually had a pretty good case to be my number one, but unfortunately, it did not reach my number one spot. We have arrived arrived at my #1 favorite film of all time. This is the best of the absolute best. The film that has affected me the most in my life. I can honestly say that without this movie, I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today. Like, this movie changed me. It changed the way that I looked at cinema. It changed the way I viewed movies forever. I asked about this movie earlier on social media. I said, do you guys know what my #1 favorite movie is? Nobody could answer me. Nobody knew what my favorite movie is. I am here to tell you that Lord of the fucking Rings is my #1 favorite movie of all time. I'm gonna be a fanboy here for a second because it is my damn list and I can do whatever the hell I want. I say Lord of the Rings, I'm not just talking about Fellowship of the Ring. I'm not just talking about the Two Towers. I'm not just talking about Return of the King. I'm talking about all three of them. If you ask me to put on my film critic hat or whatever, I would say I probably think the third one is like the best made film out of the three of them. If you're asking me to pick a favorite, I don't. I don't have a favorite. They're all my favorite. It's all one continuous, beautiful, epic ass story to me, and that's the way I'm gonna treat it. Lord of the Rings, all three of them shits, #1 favorite movie of all time. This movie is as close to perfection as you can come. They have aged beautifully. Everything about this movie. The cinematography is, oh my God. Score by Howard Shore. Dude, I don't have words. I don't have words. This is probably my favorite soundtrack and musical score that's ever been composed ever. The characters, the story, and as somebody who has read the Lord of the Rings books, who is a huge fan of the source material, dude, they nailed it. They nailed it. They did as good a job as you can do with adapting a story like that. Actors, the production design, the makeup, the look of realism, just the epic moments, dude, the battles, the dialogue, everything about this movie makes my dick hard. I'm not actually gonna start stroking it on camera in front of you, but seriously, that is the emotion that this movie brings out of me, okay? I take time out of the year, once or twice a year, to rewatch Lord of the Rings, the extended edition, all the way through, no stops. That is my list. Those are my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Tell me what your reaction to the list is. Give me some of your favorites in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.